Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Growth Clinic Podcast. On this episode, we have Francis Nayan and we discuss his journey as a heroin addict, becoming a six-figure email copywriter, his traveling, and beating addiction. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. All right, Francis, welcome to the Growth Clinic Podcast. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing really great. Doing great, man. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Where are you currently?
I am currently in Porto, Portugal.
Okay.
I just moved here actually as of officially last week. And so, yeah, I am home now.
Yeah. Are you having fun?
I'm having fun. I think it's funny. People usually ask me if I'm like out having fun on my travels, and it is fun, but I am like home. So a lot of my days are just filled with working and enjoying the city when I can.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. So tell us a bit. Do you mind telling us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, man. And so, of course, my name is Francis. I'm originally from the U.S. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. Kind of grew up in the American South and, went to university in Mississippi. And I've always had like this very big passion for travel and for, exploration and all that. And kind of, even when I was a kid, I always wanted to live like this life of freedom. And, I was never like the best student growing up. And I always wanted to, it's never made sense to me to like have a job and things like that. And so, my whole life, it kind of veered towards the life I have now, which is to be a writer who has the freedom to travel the world, but of course, it wasn't always like this. I think a big part of my story and, why some people kind of resonate with my story is the fact that I did have like a drug addiction where I was addicted to opiates for several years. I had a really solid couple $100 a day habit. And kind of like the full nine in terms of, using heroin and like all of that. But, I was an addict kind of in the early 2010s. And then in October 2014, I had an overdose, which dramatically changed my life, of course. But then, I got clean. I wanted to quit. And so the overdose was kind of like a blessing in disguise. And then I ended up, I got clean and, I kind of had this new path. People were asking me what I wanted to do next. And I always wanted to travel. And this is 2014, 2015. So I knew nothing about like online business and things like that. And so in my head, the only thing that I could do was to teach English abroad. And, that's what I did. I was working at a record store in Memphis, trying to get clean, stay clean, and saved enough money to get certified as a English teacher with an online program. And then, 9 months after my overdose, I ended up moving to Barcelona, Spain to teach English. And I spent a year there, then moved to Budapest to teach English again. And then during that time, I ended up learning about online copywriting and online business. And that was about 4.5 years ago. And long story short, a lot of emails written, a lot of businesses worked with and money made. And now I'm here.
Yeah, your story is quite the inspiring one. So how did you get into drug addiction?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was honestly I was just really depressed, man. I mean, when it comes down to it, it was one of those things where I did not really like what I was doing. I was kind of in school, but like not a good student. And I kind of felt dumb, you know what I mean? And I kind of felt like I was somebody who didn't really belong in school. And, during this time, it was like, of course, nowadays we hear about people who, are success without using their degrees and things like that. But back then it was like, I thought that school, if you weren't good at school, you weren't going to be good at life. And I was like, I'm not good at school. So I think I'm just going to like fail at everything. And, I didn't really have like a very big sense of belonging or direction, and, idle hands are the devil's playthings. Right. So I ended up just partying a whole lot, and, and drinking turned into, some type of a pill. One pill became two became three became, why why do this? Do something harder. And,
Yeah.
then it just kind of, gradually grew to like, well, this is going to be you're going to get the most bang for your buck if you do this. And so, and I was like kind of hustling to try to make that money and support my habit. And so,
Yeah.
it was just like a gradual thing. Every time I look back on it, it's kind of like, it happened so fast, but also so slow. It's like, how did we go just from playing beer pong, to like just doing like super hardcore drugs? I mean, it's really crazy, but yeah, it was a slow process.
So how long did that whole process take from taking your first hard drug to the overdose?
It was about, well, I guess it depends on how you qualify as like hard drugs. I mean, I think I took like other stuff, like actually taking pills, and I think anything other than like smoking marijuana, it was probably about 3 years, maybe. And I was just partying at first. It was just like kind of taking this and that to like loosen me up and like hang out and just kind of get faded and things like that. And then all of a sudden, it just wasn't a party anymore. I think. It's like, I think that's the thing is like a lot of people think that if you're a drug addict, that it's like always, like you're always high, and it's like always you're kind of, just kind of high and feeling good. It's like, it's not really, it's very miserable existence, and it became not a party pretty fast, I'd say.
So did you regret that phase, or do you think it was a blessing in disguise?
Well, I think I don't, that's actually a good question. I think it's hard for me to say, I wouldn't change anything because it led me to the path I am now.
Yeah.
I mean, cause I think that's going to be, my answer for that question. Cause it was tough. It's not something like, it wasn't a good time at all, and it's one of those things. It's like, would you do it again? If you could do it all over? And it's like, I don't know if I would do it again, but I wouldn't change anything, but I just wouldn't do it again. Right. But it did become a blessing in disguise because it kind of, I had the overdose. I went back home to Memphis and I kind of got clean. Right. And I really started focusing into my self-development like a little bit. So, I surrounded myself with really good people. And they were all like fitness, like athletes and like super into fitness and health coaches and stuff. And, one of them was my best friend. So like, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't do it again, but I'm happy that it led me to the path I am now. Because if it wasn't for that, maybe I would just be, trying to, wasting more money trying to get a master's or something like that. But I'm happy where I am now.
Yeah. So what role do your family and friends play in your drug addiction phase? Did they try to bring you out of it, or it is something you kept to yourself?
Yeah. And so I guess like my family, for one, they didn't really know because I was in my university town in Jackson, Mississippi during this time. And, my family's from Memphis, which is like 3 hours away. And so my family didn't really know. I think they started to kind of realize that something was going on when like I had a hard time paying rent. I was asking for money. I would ask for money and I would ask for money again, like the next day. My friends, so this is kind of the crazy part, is like a lot of my best friends were doing it too. So, you are like an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I would say the 5 people I spent the most time with, 4 of them were also doing drugs. And, we were all kind of running partners. It's going to be it's kind of like the slang that we call it. People who just do drugs with are running partners. And so, they had a big part of it. And I was a big part of theirs because we kind of fed off each other. We would help each other out and like, kind of enablers. And the great, it sounds bad, but the good part about that is everyone that I'm friends with now who is also doing that, everyone's alive, everyone's clean. They all have normal lives where they are high school football coaches. They are, CPAs, they're even lawyers now. And so, but it was really bad because we were all very in deep. So in terms of my friends, like, we enabled each other. But then once, one of us got clean, it seemed like once I had my overdose, everybody started kind of like, moving back to their hometowns to be like, oh, Francis is not here anymore. Like things are changing. And so I slowly people started making a change, but it had a big part of it. My family didn't know until the end, the overdose. And then, they were a big part of my recovery journey for sure.
So I'm now interested in your recovery journey. What things did you have to do to get clean, and after the overdose? What did you have to do to get clean?
Yeah, man. I mean, to get clean. So I went back home to Memphis, and it was just my hometown. And like, I'm just not. I love Memphis, like now as I'm older, but back then I was like, man, I can't believe I'm back in my hometown. Like, this sucks, But like I went back, and it took me a long time to like kind of level myself out. I would say, I was, the drugs weren't in my system, but like I was like normal for the first time, and so like I didn't know how to like regulate my emotions and things like this and really handle myself. And I couldn't hold a job because I just didn't have the mind for it. And so during this time, it was like kind of like slow progress. And so I do remember some of the things I got really into was like, I got super into fitness. So I was like watching like bodybuilder YouTube for like every day, like hours a day, like trying to keep myself motivated. But then my best friend from high school who had just moved back to Memphis, he was training to be like a physique competitor, bodybuilding, go on stages. And he was just such an angel into my life because we hung out like every day. He didn't judge me for what happened. He didn't even bring it up. He would just be like, hey man, let's go like work out and go eat some food. And so hanging out with him and his brother and his brother's friend, as I said before, you're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Hanging out with them helped me, one, get clean and get healthier, and so, kind of focusing on my health in that way, but then also kind of adopting new habits into my daily, going on walks a whole lot. I started journaling a lot more for like the first time. I started reading some books, but like not really, I would say. But then just really taking time, just living at home and really got to connect with my mom a whole lot and my brother and my sister. And so, just taking time to get better, work on my health was a big part of it. But of course, like then having a goal of like, okay, so I'm clean now. What's next? And people were always asking me what's next. And I was like, well, man, I really want to travel. I think that'd be so crazy. Like 4 months ago, I was putting a needle in my arm in some Mississippi gas station. Now I want to go like somewhere. Right. And so it was great when I finally got enough money to get my TEFL certification, which is teach English as a foreign language. I ended up getting my certificate. I got my certification during that time, that 4.5 months of just like, this is my goal. This is what I want to do. It helped me kind of, stay well on my recovery journey.
So let's talk about your traveling. What are your favorite countries to travel to, or where are your favorite locations you've been to?
Oh yeah, man. Okay, good question. Let's see. So it's hard to say, really. I mean, honestly, I think Portugal is one of my favorite places. And that's one of the reasons why I moved here. Not just because of that new kind of sexy D7 visa, or that a lot of people are getting, but I like it here. I mean, people speak English. Portuguese is really cool. I'm learning it myself. Before I moved here, it's just a really cool, chill place where the food is like amazing. It's nice sunny days. The architecture is great. I would say Budapest, Hungary, which is like my second home. So I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but I did live in Budapest for 5.5 years. As of, I just moved to Portugal last week. But Budapest is one of my favorite places, just because it's the architecture is beautiful. Very walkable city, and it's very fun. If you're somebody who likes to party, it's like the Las Vegas of Central Europe. But then it's also like just a very good place to vacation because it's not that difficult to get around. Definitely walkable. The tourist attractions are are pretty set in stone, and they're pretty easy to get to. But yeah, man, I think that's great. I mean, like Greece has been like a small obsession over the last year. I've been to Greece like 2 or 3 times, going to not just the big cities, but also like some of the little islands. And so, yeah, big fan of those 2 places.
So now let's talk about getting into copywriting, email copywriting, and in terms of, I think I've seen one of your articles where you've shared your blueprint to getting to 10K monthly. So would you mind telling us about how you started and the struggles you faced and all of that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of struggles, man. There was a lot of struggles. And so like when I got into copywriting basically just a few years ago, and I didn't like teaching anymore. It was like midway through my second year, and I was like, my second year in Budapest, and I just really disliked it. But I was like, I still want to travel. There has to be a way to travel and like make money online, right? And so I did like search for different ways to do it. I actually ended up running into a guy, this German guy in a bar, and he was 20 years old, and he was like, I was like, what do you do, man? You're 20, you just got back from traveling, you're in Budapest for a few weeks. Like, what do you do? It's so cool. And he was like, oh, I'm a copywriter. And I was like, what the hell is copywriting? I thought it was like copyright law. And so he was like, no, man, I sell things with like the written word, salesmanship in print, in text. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I was like, I didn't know people do that, right? And so I just asked him about it. I was like, how'd you get into that? What is that? What's the pay? How much are you making? And I got super interested. And he just sent me a bunch of resources, and I just dove into it. I didn't even have a laptop at this time. So this whole thing of the laptop lifestyle, I didn't know. I didn't have a laptop. I had like $150, and I ended up buying a laptop on the Facebook Marketplace. I bought this really horrible 11-inch laptop that it would only charge if it was like propped up by like a mug, like a coffee mug, and like. That's how I got started with copywriting. And, I tried the Upwork thing, and, I wasn't making too much money. And, my first like 6 months, I wasn't making anything, man. I made like $100 maybe. And like, I even remember my PayPal account froze. And so like, I think in my old PayPal account, I still have like $125 in there or something. Like, it's bad, but yeah, I mean, at first it was, I went through all the typical struggles that a freelance copywriter goes through, of like trying to get clients, trying to show that you're credible, trying to get testimonials. And I remember, man, I got on Upwork, and my first client was paying me $5 blog posts to write in like the IT section. I know nothing about IT, so I'm an idiot with that, right? And basically she fired me, and she was like, you're a good writer, but you have a hard time like following instructions, because she had crazy instructions. And I was like, dude, I was like, I suck at this. Like, I just got fired from like a $5 blog post project. And then she gave me a testimonial, and it basically said that it's like, he's a good writer, but has a hard time following instructions. And so 3 out of 5 stars. And so I'm like, man, like, I just got my first testimonial, and this is not even a good testimonial. It's like it's more of a reason not to hire me. And so that was like one of the big struggles that I had, is like trying to be credible. Eventually what did happen was, a father in the school that I worked in, he had a startup, but he was part of a startup called Karate Combat, which was a full contact fight league. He was Hungarian. And he was like, they have like a satellite office in Budapest. And he was saying how they needed a native English copywriter to help them write social media posts and to handle some of their like emails, other parts of their copy. And, he was like, I think because I was like his son's like favorite teacher, he wanted to give me a shot and like return the favor. So he was like, I'll give you an interview with our team. And yeah, man, I pretty much just like begged to be on that team. But that was my first client. That was my first like $2,000 a month client. And from there, I was able to leverage those testimonials and their testimonials and their name to get my next client, which was like an email marketing agency, and I was one of their main copywriters. And so then that's how I got into email copywriting, which is what I do now. And so, yeah, that's kind of like the journey.
Yeah. So why did you decide that you had to focus on email copywriting over the other ones?
Yeah. Well, with email copywriting, one, I really liked the fact that it was shorter. I knew people who were doing like 2,000 to 10,000 word sales pages or landing pages or websites. And I was like, man, that sounds, I tried it too. But the cool thing with email was like, one, during this time, this was like, I don't know, there was a bit of an e-commerce boom, it seemed like, where a lot of people were just, discovering Shopify and WooCommerce and building stores. So it seemed like there was a lot of work. But what I liked about it was all of these things I was learning in regards to copywriting, learning from like from the books, from Cash Advertising, from John Carlton, from Gary Betzavanga and all these people. I was able to implement all of those lessons a lot easier and a lot faster with, 100 to 200 word email, as opposed to, a 2 or 10,000 word sales page. So I thought that was really cool that I was able to use what I learned, send it over to somebody, and they would send the email and I would see the results. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. That email generated, $5,000. What did I do? And I chose it because it was just a lot more fun to work with. And it was great that I was able to finish the tasks quickly, as opposed to, writing a 5,000 word sales page will take a couple of weeks. Writing an email would only take me like 30 minutes. So I really enjoyed that. And then of course over time, I saw that it was quite lucrative. And not only was I getting, pretty good at writing email copy, but I could get paid pretty well for it. And so that's why I kind of stuck to it, and over the years I've done like, I have gone into like sales pages and writing advertorials and things like that. But my main service has always been email copy.
Yeah. So what is your biggest advice for a beginner copywriter, basically?
Mm-hmm. I would say the biggest advice would be, I would say find someone that you kind of like find your expert, right? Mm-hmm. And I would say just stick to one. There's so many copywriting experts out there and things like this, and somebody who you can really resonate with, where you really like their story, not just their content they produce, but their story. And you learn as much as you can from them, and kind of also with the goal to eventually work with them as, perhaps, be one of their mentees or be in a coaching program, because I think it's just so important to really simplify things. And I know when I was starting out, I'd listen to, I was following everybody. There was like 10 experts I was following, and they were all telling me to do this and that. Don't write emails, or, only write sales pages, or don't write sales pages, only write YouTube ad scripts or something, which is great. It was cool that I got exposure and had a little bit of versatility, but I think to simplify things and to stay on a path that works is just to find like an expert that you like, and to follow their path, kind of take their advice and just be actionable with with everything they teach. Because that's kind of the main thing, is like, if you tend to just follow one person and you like their advice and you like them, you're more inclined to use their advice. And as long as you take action, you're going to be progressing, which is, kind of the main thing. So I would say that to somebody who's new, it's like, just find someone you resonate with and learn from them. And then everything you learn, take it into action.
Yeah. So what, since you got clean and started building your copywriting business, I feel like in everything, because personally I had struggles to be porn and weed and all of those things, which I wrote about in my latest ebook and all. I feel like I have a mantra or something I say to myself to keep me going. I have like a bigger picture I look at that keeps me going, like keeps me motivated when I feel down. Because no matter how much one thing I've noticed is, no matter how much you succeed, no matter how much success you get, you still have down times. You still feel like shit in some days. So how do you keep going? What are the things you tell yourself?
Yeah, man, that's a really good question. I think, I wish I could say that there was like only one phrase that I say to myself, but I do, there is a lot of inner talk. And for me, it's always just kind of knowing that, if there is a hard time, a dark time where, maybe money's not coming in or building something's really hard, it's just like, just to know, do all I can today, not to worry about tomorrow or the next day. And that's something I learned in recovery. You always hear about one day at a time. And that's what I tell myself. And, when it's even harder, it's like 1 hour at a time. Do I need to take a break right now? Then if that case, take the hour, finish this hour, and then get back to work. Or if I'm working and it's hard, it's like, just finish the hour, man. Like, get to the next hour, then you can take a break if you need to. Or, if it's like, I'm not motivated or like work seems like it's just difficult, I just tell myself, just one day at a time, just do all I can today. And then don't worry about tomorrow. Once this day's done, it's done. Tomorrow, we'll worry about it then. So for me, it's really just being in the moment and being like, whatever bad thing I'm going through, whatever tough thing I'm going through, it's going to end eventually, and that's something I always remind myself.
Yeah. So I feel like since you've struggled with an addiction, and when you see someone struggling with another addiction, that if it spurs you up inside. So what do you tell people, let's say my listeners, struggling with an addiction or something? What advice do you have to give them?
Yeah, I mean, somebody who's like struggling with addictions, I think it's to change your environment, even if it's something like, you love to smoke weed, or you're super into porn or something like that. One of my clients actually was like a coach and he helped guys like quit porn. And one of the things was just like to change your environment. And like, it's just like the little things, whether it's change where you sleep or change the places where you hang out and the people you hang out with. Once you kind of change your environment, you're able to make big strides into getting rid of that addiction. And so, when I was an addict and I stopped being an addict, I was hanging out with all these fitness heads. It was crazy how much my life changed. And, my environment, once I changed my environment, then I started to change as well.
Do you have some long-term effects from your addiction days that you struggle with today?
I wouldn't say anything physical or anything mental. I think because I did it for so long, there are times where like I see something on TV where someone's doing it and I don't feel bad, but I'm just like, I'm like, whoa, he's not having a good day. It's like, it's like a relation thing. It's like when I do see somebody who's struggling with an addiction, I do have like a lot of empathy with that. But I think, that was about, 2022 now. And so my overdose was 8 years ago. And so like who I was mentally and physically and emotionally is like completely different. I think the thing that probably stayed with me is just my feeling towards addicts and like just kind of understanding where they're coming from and what they're struggling with.
Yeah, that's actually very nice to hear. So it's been good talking to you, man. Do you mind telling us where people can find you on the internet?
Yeah, man. So of course, Francis, you can find me at Twitter. On Twitter is where I spend a lot of time at Francis_9. And then you can also join my email newsletter at thenomadnewsletter.com. And there I write daily emails to help you make money online as an online writer and travel the world. And so follow me there, read my emails, and let's keep in touch.
All right, man. It's been good talking to you. Enjoy your day in Portugal.
You too, bro.
Yeah, safe. Thank you for coming this far. I created the program for people feeling stuck, struggling with an addiction, trying to find their path, and want to become whole again. It is called the Self-Mastery Program. Please check out the show notes to get a copy, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.